Thank you for joining us today. This is MPA's community check-in. We're going around the community, people we know and love, and checking in with them, trying to find out what they see in their worlds under these conditions. Wanted to start out with your name, what you do, and how long you've been doing it.
Well, I'm Rich Brauer. I started in 1977, and I had the privilege of knowing the first director of the Michigan Film Office, a guy named Darrell Beasley. And interestingly, that office ran for 30 years before the incentive. So I go back deep, okay? And it's kind of fun.
Yeah, sure. And you're a filmmaker. You've made a number of films, Barn Red, Dogman series.
Yeah, I've made, I've written and directed 9 movies, and a couple that I didn't write, and I was a director of photography on both of Jeff Daniels' movies, Escanaba in the Moonlight and Super Sucker. He only made 2 movies, and I had the privilege of shooting both of them. And we also edited both of those. And those were shot in 35 millimeters. So that was back, in those days. Hey, you know what? 20 years ago right now, we were still shooting Escanaba in the Moonlight.
Wow.
Right now.
I suspect it was a lot colder than it is now.
The funny thing about that is that Jeff could have picked any director of photography he wanted in the world, okay?
No doubt.
And there's a lot of guys a lot more skilled than I am. But what I had to offer was I am not intimidated by crappy weather.
That's good. That's, yeah. In Michigan, we know about that stuff.
Yeah, we do. And, there's a lot of studio DPs running around that would have gone nuts during the 2 months of pre-production that we had, let alone the shoot.
Well, that's very true. On the film Hoffa, I worked on, 2007 or so. Mm-hmm. They saw the weather change in one night from rain to sleet to full-on snow. They were losing their minds. They didn't know quite how to deal with that.
Well, and filmmaking is all problem solving, right? So it's all about that. So it's if you're intimidated by trouble, then you shouldn't be in this industry, clearly, right?
And that brings us right around to where we are now. Yeah. So here we are. Do you have employees there, Rich?
Nope. I've lived through the heyday where I had a whole building full of employees. I sold a building three years ago. I was in that building 25 years, and I went through the whole thing with a full staff and everything. And then as the industry in general has quieted down, and really very few production companies of my size maintained a staff anymore, as you know. And so it became more, we hire contractors and more freelancers. And that's how I'm surviving now. So no, everybody that works for me is a contractor.
That's right. You've helped a lot of people start out in the business. And
right.
What do you know about them right now?
It's fun. It goes back as far as, I got to think. This was in the 80s. I got a grant from the Michigan Council for the Arts to do a project within the school system called Video Arts Process. And VHS was just coming on the scene then. And I used to know what VHS stood for. I don't remember anymore. But does anybody remember what that stands for, or care?
Yeah. Video high.
Nah, I don't know.
I can't remember what else.
Helical.
Pretty sure video was in there. Yeah.
Helical something. Who knows what?
Yeah.
I don't know. I used to have an editor that would have known that. Doesn't matter. Anyway, back then, the idea was to teach young students the craft. And so I got a grant from the Michigan Council for the Arts. They were giving those things out back then for things like that. And I wish they would do that again, so that we could keep the wheels moving. But to your question, one of those students is now an animator at Pixar.
I love that.
Yeah,
that's great.
And interestingly, one of the other students. Now these guys were it must have been 6th or 7th grade at the time. So these are young kids, man. And I still get a call from that guy and he goes, "Hey, check, I just want to thank you, just want to thank you for being a part of this thing, And then another guy, now that we're doing contract work with everybody, he's my chief editor now.
Oh, that's great. Long-term relationships, friendship.
I know it. And he's fantastic. And I had a really good editor for about 6 years, a comrade, and she's editing my latest movie right now, but she's doing it 2,000 miles away.
Oh,
and,
can you shout out her name? What's her name?
Yeah, sure. Amber Elliott. And you could give her a call if you want, and ask her side of the fence. But she took she took a job out west, primarily due to the kind of the lack of jobs here. It's that same old story, and it was a good job and benefits and the whole thing. It's with a big giant corporate thing, and but she was my DP on my last movie, Frozen Stupid 2. It's a sequel.
Ah, I did not know that.
Yeah, here's the cast. I don't know if you can see it. Cast of thousands. Anyway, there's 9 Screen Actors Guild actors in it, and then I think there were 6 day players that I just grabbed from theater around Michigan. But 9 SAG actors, and we were a signatory, as I always am, dealing with the guys up top, and trying to get that going. And that movie, she was the DP on, did a great job, and she also is the editor of that movie. So what's interesting now is we finished shooting at the end of September, and that's when you could be closer than 6 feet.
Right, truly.
And then because she took her gig out west, we've been doing Skype editings where she shares her screen with me here at my studio, and it functionally as if I'm sitting in the room with her.
There you go. That's right.
It's really fantastic. So the interesting thing about that, I think, is that this whole COVID-19 crap that we're all dealing with on that particular issue is sort of transparent.
Right.
She's stuck in her house. I come into my studio because I'm in a vacuum down here, so I can be here. We can edit together. So we're actually in that world. I kind of lucked out.
So things have changed generally in the industry, and you've been adapting to them over time anyway.
Yeah, the adapting is hard for an old warhorse, and you can probably speak to that a little bit too, Mark. But none of us, well, I don't anyway, wake up in the morning super excited about the latest version of whatever.
Yeah.
I just need to hang around people that have that attitude.
Right. I mean, I think you do this too. You're constantly learning something. I mean, you really have to keep up to a certain extent. And there's a lot of online courses for that. And I found myself over the past couple of days, logging in to a lot of those. Something I wanted to learn about on Photoshop, for example.
Well, you're a wiser man than I. All I've learned is to make sure I know who to ask. So
that's right.
So if you get good at that stuff, give me a shout.
I sure will. Now tell me, you're a business owner in town, Traverse City.
Yeah.
You've owned a couple of buildings now, is it? Or
I sold that building 3 years ago, and I'm now downtown. I don't own the building I'm in now. Interestingly, I'm in the space that I was in 1980.
Is that right?
So what happened, I was here for 5 years in this building. It's the Masonic building in Traverse City, right on the corner of Front and Union.
I know that building. Yeah.
Back then it had 4 floors. The 3rd and 4th floor was a ballroom with a stage and a balcony and 2,000 square feet, hardwood floors and the whole thing. And a couple of years, and I was here 5 years there at that time, and I shared the space with a photographer, Bob Jackson. And I decided to go out on my own, so I bought a little building nearby, an old Mexican restaurant that used to be around the corner that was defunct. I bought that, and then a couple of years later, the 4th floor burned off of this building. And I don't know how they saved the whole town from burning up, but they did. So the ballroom went away, and they reallocated the 3rd floor as offices and stuff. And then after I moved out of here, I was gone for 5 years in this little building that I bought, and then I bought the next one, I was there 25 years. So I was gone 30 years, just down the road. And then when I decided to sell my building 3 years ago, I was getting a haircut down below here, and
I'm doing the math right now, and you can't be that old.
No, yeah, I am. I know. Clean living, Mark. You don't understand, but clean living.
That's funny. That's funny. So what I was getting to was you've established yourself in the city, and
Yeah.
do you have in these like slower times, I imagine, have you lost work as a result of this, for example? And
You mean because of the COVID, or you mean just in general?
Yeah, it would be as a result of the COVID.
Well, for sure. Actually, as recent as a week ago, this is Friday, right? Yeah, it was last Friday, I think. There's a company in LA that was going to hire us to do a commercial for a corporate client up here.
All right.
And we're talking hair, makeup, sound, utility sound, camera grip, gaffing, my 5-ton truck, all this stuff. I got a lot of stuff on the road, and Lowing was going to be involved because they wanted some special lights that I don't have, and so there was a ton of people involved in this thing, and it was a good sized crew, kind of rare, but it happens around here. Maybe once every couple of months, I might get a call like that, and I had everybody kind of on hold. I had my whole deal going. And 4 days ago, they called and said, "Nah, ain't happening." And now you'd think of the ripple effect of not only with Dave in Grand Rapids, but with me here and all my compadres up here that were hungry for this sort of thing. It was a good gig, and didn't happen. And there was another one. There's 2 others like that just happened that were on the books that we're going to kind of lock it up now, and didn't happen. And so the ripple effect is pretty deep when it comes to that. In my world, I'm busy editing the movie still. Well, even that, we were going to have the premiere of that somewhere around Memorial Day weekend, and I'm not going to start promoting that right now because of this whole thing, right? We don't know what's going on. So
it pushes everything forward. And
pushes that whole thing out till maybe, I don't know when, who knows, Labor Day weekend maybe or something. So that kind of, I don't like that. These movies don't get better if they just sit around, you got to let them breathe,
That's it. So I understand you were reading a screenplay that you like, that you found
the one
interesting.
Just this morning. Yeah, that was. Well, there's another one. I'm the DP on a movie that was scheduled, and for whatever reason, and I don't know. I'm not the producer on this, and I'm not the director, so I'm not privy to why. But that one, it was a bigger deal for me, and it would have been and it probably will still happen at some point, I'm hoping. But those are big impacts on all the technicians' lives, as you know. So then separately, I got a screenplay from somebody that's working on that movie. I think she's one of the producers, and she sent me the screenplay that I finished. I read the whole bloody thing this morning.
You did between the time I spoke to you and.
I was already into it, probably 25 pages or something when you called. But
that has potential. Yeah.
But I got to read these things straight through, otherwise I forget. Because I've got my own screenplays. I don't know if you can see these.
Sure can. Yeah.
Stacks of them of my own work. I'm not even going to dig out the whole pile, but there's tons of screenplays that I've written and are ready to go. And if the economic climate were such that I could pull a rabbit out of my hat, like I used to do a movie every year and a half. That's for, when before the film incentive, if you went and looked at the film office website and what movies are done, 80% of them were mine. It's insane.
I did notice that. Yeah.
Yeah. And then now I'm at the bottom of the list because I've been not cranking them out like that anymore. But the market's different in general and not related to the COVID thing, but the whole distribution thing, that's a whole nother topic. But clearly
indeed. Right. Indeed. Back in Detroit, we used to have a place called Studio Center.
Mm-hmm.
It was a beautiful, one-of-a-kind office park with a studio and office space and space for, the equipment vendors.
Yeah.
It was a great place, but the market changed. It downsized the studios, holding on, fortunately. They're getting a lot of work, but everyone's had to change, and now we have this going on.
Yeah, this is a tough time, and we're all sick of watching the news. I've been watching Andy Griffith a lot more.
Have you?
Mm-hmm. Three Stooges, something that just kind of empties the brain out,
Yeah, indeed.
I heard yesterday Ethan Hawke was doing this like questionnaire thing, and they asked him the same question, like what's he been watching, and so he's been watching a lot of Buster Keaton and a lot of Charlie Chaplin.
Really?
Something that kind of transcends language, something that is quiet for him,
That's parallel invention there. I'm sure maybe a lot of people are taking refuge in those kinds of projects where, yesterday, I'm admitting stuff that I realize could be used against me, but no, I don't give a crap anymore. So I ordered not only the original Airplane movie, but also the sequel.
Oh, that's really, just frivolous fun.
Absolutely.
Have you ever seen the film, what was it called? Waitress? So
maybe.
That was a film. Andy Griffith is in that film.
Wow.
And it's a nice little film. The director, producer, sadly, there's a very, horrid story about what happened to her, but it's a wonderful little story. Andy Griffith has a great role in there.
I made a note of it.
Watching that.
As soon as we get off this, I'll order it.
There you go.
Because there's no problem in stockpiling DVDs. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Have you both seen A Face in the Crowd, the Elia Kazan movie?
Oh, yeah.
That's Andy Griffith at the most like different and maybe his best. Best dramatic work ever.
I think so. Almost. Yeah. If you go in reverse and see that after seeing him in so many other roles, it's a different thing. Absolutely.
And the reason I like those old Andy Griffith shows, Tilly, come here, is that here, this is Tilly. I don't know if you can see Tilly here. Come here. She's too heavy and.
She looked like a big dog. Yeah. Oh, wow.
That's Tilly.
There you go. Hi there. Hi. Say hi to the camera.
Hi, Tilly.
That's right. That's your companion.
Yeah, today she is. She's a good gal.
She's excellent. So, have you noticed, so you're walking around Traverse City. Do you notice any changes around the city since this happened?
Absolutely. It's the song we all are singing, but like right across the street is this really great deli. I'm looking right at it. And they're doing carry out. I see people going and grabbing bags and coming out. So I think they're switching to carry out. I haven't been over there. Well, that's not true. I took a carry out 2 days ago out of there. There's probably 5 coffee shops within 100 feet of my studio here. And I visit all of them. And I haven't been to any of them, and they're still hanging in there. But you sell a couple of $1 cup of coffee, but no sandwiches, and nobody's sitting around eating anywhere. And the place is kind of a ghost town. I don't.
Traffic's pretty light.
Yeah. Well, right now, normally there'd be cars everywhere, and there's one car sitting there waiting for a carryout with his engine running.
Yeah, we're seeing that down here too.
Yeah, and we're seeing that. And it's pretty cool though, I guess, that we're being, okay, I don't want this to happen. I'm trying to be optimistic, okay? But what this stuff does do to us, and it will pass, we don't know when, God willing, it'll be soon, but we get humbled when this happens. And, the human race tends to be a little arrogant. And I remember that great comment, I can't think of who said it, but it was like, we need nature. Nature doesn't need us.
Oh, yeah. Very good.
And it's like, you think of that. You stand by the Great Lakes, on the shore of the Great Lakes, and or the ocean, or some national forest that's untampered with, and you feel pretty small when that happens. And that's not a bad thing. It helps knock down that arrogance where we think that we're so damn smart, and these doctors, they're doing what they can with chemistry, and I'm hoping they'll pull a rabbit out of their hat here at some point. But still, nobody can really explain how a wound heals.
Sure.
It's like, okay, you cut it, put a Band-Aid on it. Okay. A couple days later, oh, it's healed. How'd that happen? Don't really know exactly.
Yeah, sure. There's a Western way of looking at things and an Eastern way of looking at things, which is more metaphorical or metaphysical.
Right. So on the flip side, so on the good side, if there is one, it would be that. But we have to come out the other side to look back and implement that wisdom. And when you're in the middle of it, obviously it's hard to keep that up.
Right, but you're making do. You're getting by.
Yeah, actually, I just finished. I delivered a video yesterday, electronically, of course, but it had to go through some approval. Again, I shot it last, November or December or something. It's been in the edit world for a while, but I just sent it to all the people that are stakeholders in it. Here's the link. Here's the link. And I used to hate that because half of them would watch it on their iPhone while they're driving home.
Exactly. Yeah.
And we all hated that. Hey, when I was at my old studio down the street, the bigger one, we had a kitchen in there, and I had one of my comrades, she was an excellent chef. And when we made a 10-minute video for somebody, we would invite them over for lunch. And she would like roast a chicken and make potatoes and carrots, and we'd have a glass of wine with it. And it would be like, okay, you want to watch your movie? Okay, yeah, let's sit down and watch.
Yeah.
And we did that a lot back then. And now, like I said, it's just send the thing over and they're watching it while they're driving traffic. And but now that technology is actually what's keeping things moving a little bit for us.
True. I can't wait to get back to the other way. It's still that high touch of being together.
It's horrible. Well, and also shooting anything. I mean, I haven't shot anything for 3 weeks ago was my last thing I shot for somebody.
Yeah.
Well, 2.5 weeks ago I did some work for a corporate thing up here, and then right before that there was a guy that came in from Philadelphia. He's an expert on robotic surgery, and I did some work with him while he was in town, and that wouldn't be happening now.
No,
he wouldn't even be able to get here.
Indeed.
So we're feeling the effect of it, and I don't ever want to take it lightly, but we're going to get through this thing somehow. And I don't know how, but it'll pass, and then we'll have to dig through it. We've all got maybe some money in stock market a little bit here and there, and man, that thing took a dump, and
sure,
probably will continue to do that. So,
but on the good note, we're going to get through it. The overall.
Well, and you're doing this thing, keeping the communication up there, and guys like Dave Lowing and I and others in this industry are continue to send jabs and notes back to each other like we're in 5th grade, and and that's kind of fun.
I love to hear that. That's great.
It is. I mean, I could send him one right now. I'm going to send him one right now. Well, how much time you got still?
We're done.
Oh, you're done? Okay.
But send him a note that because we did this with him last week or earlier this week.
Okay. Here, I'm going to just call him, and then you can talk to him. Hang on a second. This is funny. Yeah, Dave and I go back similarly. Actually, he was responsible for that camera mount hitting Matthews. You know about my camera mount, the car mount?
Oh, yes, I was aware of that.
Yeah, well, I give Dave just all sorts of credit for that because, I built it and designed it, but I didn't know what to do with it. And he saw it and he goes, hey, you need to talk to my buddy Ed Phillips at Matthews. And I go, you're out of your mind. I can't just cold call Ed Phillips, the CEO of Matthews. And I did. And I said, hey, I'm a friend of Dave's. And Ed goes, oh, yeah, sure. What do you got? And I said, well, I got this contraption I'd like to share with you. I'm going to be in LA next week anyway. Oh, well, come on by. And it was that simple. Here, I'm going to call him and see if he answers. So you're not recording anymore?
We probably
You should.
What do you think, Andrew?
Yeah, why not?
Okay, I think so
Hey,
too.
how you doing, Dave? Excellent. Hang on a second. I'm going to put you on speakerphone. I'm talking to that bum Mark Adler right now on his. I know. Hang on. Okay, there he is.
Dave.
Hey, Mark, how you doing?
Okay, long time.
Yeah, did you get the yesterday's thing finished up?
We did. But we're still going at it.
Dave, the reason I wanted to call you is to tell you that I told Mark that basically everything you said was a bunch of crap.
Well, that's usually right.
Okay.
I don't trust you, Rich. You know what's going on.
Anyway, I just wanted to give you. I'm still online with these guys, so I thought I'd just give you a crap. And,
So
well, thanks for calling.
hey, so to close this out, why don't you both say, something about, good luck, Michigan, or something along that line.
okay, Dave, you first.
Good luck, Michigan. We're going to pull through.
There you
All
go.
right.
Yeah, I would say the same thing, and I'd say that this community is tight. The production community is tight in Michigan. Guys like Loeing have been a fixture since Abraham Lincoln was president. So you got guys like that around that are solid and innovative, and I think it's a tight community. We all sort of stick together, and
Yep.
so I think together we're gonna pull a rabbit out of our hat somehow.
Well done.
Exactly.
Well said.
I have one other thing. I've been trying to figure out a way if I could be of any help anywhere. But if anyone knows of some help that our company can be to help the community get through this, let me know.
You could send me a check, Dave, for 20 or 30 grand. You won't even miss it. So
That would help me.
Anything but money. That's what we have less of.
I
We
understand.
have spare time and trucks.
I
Well,
understand.
we need a script and we need a way to do it online.
Exactly. Thanks, Dave. Have a good day.
Yeah, see you. Bye now.
Okay, that's what I like about guys like Loeing is that, really, seriously, we've gone to events together and like the Eclipse Awards and stuff. And if we sit together, honestly, it's like the teacher comes over and prizes apart.
Right. Hey,
Anyway.
we're going to have to go because we've got back-to-back interviews, my friend.
Okay. All right. Sorry to hog up all the time, but it was a lot of fun with you guys.
Absolutely.
Great to meet you.
And Andrew, it's a pleasure meeting you too. I need someday maybe Mark will actually introduce us better and we can figure out what you're up to as well. Okay.